integrated health. My background is from surgery. Amar is a physician. But our effort is that the less people that reach the hospital, the better it is. So you could say, become a doctor, be a physician at home, or as our Guru Paramahansa Yogananda ji used to say, once he spoke of himself, he said, I'm a spiritual doctor, which is to say that a theme we have been discussing, friends, in our classes. It is true, there are so many different religions which have proclaimed that man is essentially, we are a soul which has a body, you might say. And of course, as they go into more detail, let's say in the teachings of Sanatana Dharma, of which yoga is a major part, they speak not just of the physical body, but an energy body or an astral body or a body which we all encase, we are part of before we are born in a physical body, and after we die, that question must have come to a reasoning mind, that where will I go? Do I cease to exist? But the yogis have explained through their experience and the knowledge that now we go into an energy body, but it doesn't stop there. Paramahansa Yogananda, in his book Autobiography of a Yogi, very clearly explained of a causal body, which I have to confess, even after all these years of studying them again and again, it is a concept very hard to mentally fathom, and I'm sure it is like that for everybody. But it's now, for the lack of a better word, we have to say a body of thoughts. But basically, he said it's a thought reality, and above all of that, he would of course say that we are a spirit, and as the spirit descends into manifestation, these successive stages are witnessed. Now, what is the benefit? For a moment, to begin with, let's say this is philosophy, this is a proposal. What is the benefit of studying this? Well, the benefit is that if perchance these three stages of manifestation are true, then we can work on them. And perhaps not just to again work to see, oh yes, they were true, but actually to work in order to strengthen and regain our health, again, on a thought level, on an energy level, or on a physical level. Because is it not true, friends, that when we are faced with a reality, we of course, rush to a doctor, a surgeon, whoever, and we get benefits on that level. And Yogananda ji said it is true because there are laws on the physical plane. But consider this simple thought. Even to come on this webinar, you must have first had a thought. Should I? Is it worth it? I wonder what they're going to share. Well, maybe I'm not doing anything better. Maybe I just go and listen something. Or maybe there is, sorry, by the way, we didn't promote our topic beforehand. So your decision making was even more hard. We made it hard for you. But first of all, we think of something. Yogananda ji said, then you give it energy, and finally you see a physical manifestation. This is true for anything. And the yogis have said that this principle can be used not just for spiritual emancipation. Again, across cultures and religions, this has been the message. The other day, I was reading the Zoroastrian teachings, and Paramahansa Yogananda ji had mentioned over there that in the Sanatana Dharma, we speak of the Om as a very mighty mantra, but Om is said to be, something which has a beginning, transition, and an end. And Yogananda ji said, when you are in the Om vibration, when you are listening, when you're aware of it, he said, nothing can touch you. You will not be affected. And there were many stories that he would then share about how people were protected because their awareness was so high. They were in tune with a higher reality within themselves, and hence they were not affected by anything outside. So anyway, I just started and I searched the word Ahunavar, because Yogananda ji said Om became Amen of Christianity, Amin in the Islamic tradition, Ahunavar in the Zoroastrian. He said it all means the same thing. It's expressed differently. I'll just say do a small search on that, because I could easily spend the remaining 15-20 minutes talking about Ahunavar, how they explained. But basically somebody with a very analytical mind was analyzing it, and they said, well, it says that when you're in Ahunavar, you are immortal. Nothing can touch you. It was something like a heroic courage comes over. And again, it said that there are 3 ways in which you can benefit from Ahunawar. And there were so many parallels that I said, again, it is true that we just have to go a little bit deeper and look at that subject. And we see that, oh, the saints and prophets and the masters have said the same thing. Now, coming to our subject today, this morning I received an article from my weekly subscription of The Economist magazine. And they published a small article on basically what does loneliness or solitude. Now, of course, there are 2 different spectrums. Loneliness is when you say, I'm so lonely, and you could be lonely in a very, very big shopping mall. And solitude is when you're really enjoying yourself or perhaps the surroundings where you are placed and there is nobody around. And so they were studying people who say they are feeling lonely and people who enjoy solitude, what it does to their immunity, what it does to their white blood cells and other blood cells, what it does to the brain, what kind of a behavior do these people have. And what was very interesting is that in this article, these are some doctors, a team of 3 doctors who did this research. And by the way, it was published just in February. So it's a very interesting timing. And they mentioned a statement from the Bible, which of course is over 2000 years old, that it is more blessed to give than to receive. And might it be true? And here we are finding ourselves in a situation worldwide where a great challenge has come. Some people are facing the onslaught much more than others. And there are needs of people on all levels. There's the need to survive. There's the need for shelter, food, finances, managing not just your family, but perhaps for somebody who may be responsible for thousands of people, perhaps on an employment level, all those decisions. So there's a physical need, there's an emotional need. People are also turning to religions. I saw this wonderful animation on one of the groups on the phone. Basically, the devil, is telling God, look, I closed your churches. And God replies, yes, thank you. You helped me establish one in each home. Which was to say that, of course, that, this challenge has come and people are seeking spiritual answers also on one level. So that kind of health or hunger is at least come to our awareness. And people have to explore that. We all have to explore it. But friends, in this study, I want to mention something these doctors found. First of all, as I mentioned briefly, they studied, and you can go on the website, The Economist, this is the .com worldwide website, and check out this article. And they were mentioning that a certain kind of, myeloid is a myeloid cell, and one of the types of myeloid cells, which are blood cells, they lead to the production of interferons, which are responsible for fighting off basically viral infections. And those who said they were feeling lonely or are in that phase for a while, they basically start producing less of that, interferons. And consequently, they are more prone to viral infections. Now, remember, this was being studied irrespective of the COVID situation we are finding ourselves. This is a study they were conducting for a long time. What was also interesting is they found that people who feel lonely, it's almost like they said being a moderate smoker or a drunkard, because such people, it's also been found that they have a high inflammatory response in their body. And as an informed, student would know of health, that inflammation is at the heart of heart disease, many cancers, many other illnesses. So at the heart of many illnesses, chronic illnesses especially, is inflammation. So here they were saying and making the case, something which is pretty much known, that if somebody is extremely lonely, their habits tend to be a certain kind, but also they develop more inflammation and less ability to fight off these infections. So then they also started a study on people who are kind of healthy, and they said, well, let us see how their immunity is when they basically are asked to do random acts of kindness. So they asked, certain volunteers to participate, and people were running around errands for others, helping others with groceries, with medicines, or general help, helping some senior citizens and such. And they found, to their amazement, that their ability to, put up a good immune response was very high, and the inflammation was very low. Now, here's an interesting, part of the story. They realized that both of these cycles, the one which was causing more inflammation and the one which was causing less, they are both kind of like self-feeding cycles. So you could get better and better and better at something, or your loneliness leads to worsening of symptoms, which lead to further loneliness. And as you can see, it's a downhill course from there. So at some point, they started meeting people who were lonely to see if they would perform the same acts which had helped the healthy people put up a better response. And guess what? They found they were getting the same benefits, but it was a bit challenging for them because they were accustomed to loneliness. They didn't want to interact. Perhaps they were shy. Also, of course, as it happens with loneliness, they said people had become suspicious of others' motives. They were perhaps more judgmental towards their own self. How will people perceive this if I just go out of my way to help somebody? And that reminds me of an advice somebody gave in good faith many years ago, but it was not good advice, friends. This gentleman said to me that you should be good. Everybody agrees to that. You should be good, but be careful to not be too good. Now, on a practical level, it seems, oh yes, one shouldn't be too good. People may take advantage of you, and which is what this person was saying. But why would you be foolish? Being too good does not mean you're foolish. Being too good is you're feeling good. And I'm sure there'll be more studies to prove that you feel better and better. And actually, if you go back to that line, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Kriyananda ji, Yogananda's student and our teacher, he used to say it is more blessed because it is more blissful. It is more happiness giving. When you keep things for yourself, you get a temporary happiness, but in the long run, you're not happy because you're accumulating more and more, and you need those things more to be happy. Whereas he said, those who give, those who think of others, even in a small family, if you see those individuals who are calm and content and ever happy, are those who give. So this point was being made over there that, again, back to that study, that when they asked those people who were slightly in loneliness and suspicious of others and themselves that, no, come on, you can try to do this, they realized very quickly that their immune response and other things were getting better. So what shall we do in these times? Well, certainly acts of kindness. Well, but you'll say, well, but I can't really go out too much because we are under a lockdown. And here I think there was a little divine hand in this study, because just around when they were about to complete this study, they started studying. A third doctor came in the picture and he said, wait a minute, how about if we made those acts of kindness online acts? Helping somebody financially, praying for somebody, encouraging somebody, or sharing your skill with someone. And friends, they found it had the same response. So among this team of doctors, one gentleman who now presented this study to The Economist, he was saying, I was really concerned with this global lockdown, that people who had a tendency for loneliness, if they would get into a further cycle of being aloof and lonely, that they may not be able to come out. But he said, now with this proof that you can start where you are, do something online, do something offline. When the situation opens up, Kriyananda ji used to say, go out of your way to help other people. Look what you have. If somebody does not have that, share it with them. And this is a sure way to go about. And now, of course, the study concluded by saying that you will be more healthy in these times. Your ability to fight the viral infections will be very high, which is excellent. Very, very nice to know. I think science and spirituality always keep getting closer and closer. And it is more happiness giving because it is more blessed to give than to receive. But friends, also think of how it has a positive effect on others who you're helping, who you're reaching out with a phone call, with some food. Just today, from our side, I was telling some close friends over here because we were doing an online meditation, which we do every day at noon. And I just said, hey, by the way, our organization, we made a contribution to another organization, which is sharing food with stray animals, with other people, with migrant workers. And it just makes everybody feel so nice. Right? If I would have said, well, we are going to arrange a good plate of food for all of you, yes, of course, that's nice, but suddenly a different kind of joy. And that's why it's called bliss. It is, Kriyananda used to say, it's a higher octave of happiness. He said at the lesser side is pleasure, then is happiness, then is joy. And he said finally, bliss takes over. And as spiritual aspirants, as people who are very keen on helping others at this time, helping ourselves, helping our family, let us take heed to this advice of the saints and of scientists now, that it is more blessed to give than to receive. So I also want to read a little bit about this affirmation of kindness, which I thought today I'll share from. This is from Swami Kriyanandaji's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing. So please listen to these words and then we will affirm together. Kindness. When you can view all human beings as members of your own extended family, your brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, and children, then you will find wherever you go that love awaits you, welcomes you. It is God who gazes back at you when you behold Him in all. Kindness is the recognition that all are truly our own. Kindness comes from not minding how others feel about us. It comes from the simple understanding that kindness is its own reward, worth giving out to others because the source of so much sweetness in ourselves. For those of broad sympathies, the very universe is home. So before we visualize, let's take a moment. You can close your eyes if you wish to visualize ourselves in our homes, but expand that circle to think of your friends, relatives, family members, colleagues. Think of others now who might be in greater need of emotional, physical healing. Think of touching them in your thoughts with your kindness. And think of them as part of your greater family. And now let's affirm together, first loudly. The whole world is my home, and the human race, my family. With God's kindness, I embrace all men. The whole world is my home, and the human race, my family. With God's kindness, I embrace all men. Now in a whisper, the whole world is my home, and the human race, my family. With God's kindness, I embrace all men. Now, with deep focus at the point between the two eyebrows, the spiritual eye, only mentally allowing these words to go deep in your consciousness. The whole world is my home, and the human race, my family. With God's kindness, I embrace all men. Let us mentally pray. Divine Mother, help me to see that by kindness to others, I attract not only theirs in return, but thy kindness as well. May I be kind to others always. May my kindness act as a channel of thy unselfish love. So I'll invite Amar to share now. Amar, you're not audible.
Yeah, it was mute. So yeah, it was very nice to see that in these times, these researches they help us to relate to the reality, and also, as you were saying, the right point that science and spirituality they go together, and it is high time that we start seeing the whole world as we are evolving to a higher age from a new perspective. And I was also thinking from the perspective of yoga, as we were sharing in the last class also, that we have our energy body and we have our body of thoughts, which Yogananda recommended that we should identify more with them rather than with the physical body, because physical body is just like a shadow. And so in our energy body, we also have these centers, which in yoga literature they call chakras, electromagnetic centers, starting from Muladhara, Swadhisthana, the Manipur, Anahat, and Vishuddha. And as you were sharing the subject of kindness, so that kindness is basically a heart quality, which ultimately, if we see from the yogic perspective, is coming from Anahat. And so this thought was coming to me that if we really have to build our Anahat chakra, people always go to so many specialists for yoga specialists for, their chakra healing. But Yogananda always tried to keep things simple. He said that your energy will always rise not only with pranayama and exercise, but also by thinking right thoughts and having good feelings. So if you are having feelings of kindness towards your fellow men and towards the thoughts of caring and sharing, then naturally it is going to strengthen our Anahat chakra, which is the heart center. And since each chakra is basically giving the electrical supply, electrical energy to all the organ systems which are in the vicinity. So if we have Vishuddha here, it is giving the energy supply to the organ systems in the neck. So in the heart, we can say that yes, if this is strong, then our not only physical heart is going to be strong, our lungs are going to be strong, and also thymus, which is an important area which they say for immunity. Now, people sometimes as they age, physiologically speaking, our thymus, it starts, getting atrophic, it starts getting, it start reducing in size. In children it is much bigger, so, and that is why children have robust immune responses, but as we keep on aging, our immunity starts dropping. But then it does make sense that if our anahat is strong, then all the organ systems, including our thymus, will be strong, and then our immune response can go to a higher octave. And what you were sharing was exactly what came in this research also. If I just share with you in this slide here that came. So is the slide on the screen now? Yeah. Are we seeing
Yes,
this?
we can see
Yeah.
it. Yes, Amar. But there are
Yes.
multiple slides, 8 of them.
There are 8 of them. Okay. So let me just see what is the. So I wanted to show you this one actually, which is the. Yeah. So can you see now? There is one slide now.
Social
Yeah, so
bonding. Yeah.
social bonding and longevity. So basically, this research happened, in some time back, and they were scientists wanted to see that what are the factors which help us to live longer. Now, if you see in this slide, people have scientists have started, that yes, if you are living in clean surroundings, which is the the bottom area, if you see clean air, hypertension, overweight, exercise, all these parameters are important. But the curious thing was that the most important thing which helped people live longer was how close and bonding relationships they were having with people. Now, these bars are actually the strength they are showing. They are directly proportional to how much how much it was relevant, how much that thing was relevant for longevity. And this was exactly which Dr. Aditya was sharing, that social integration, that seeing. Now yoga is saying that yes, there is only one reality, only God, and he is the only light in this world, and all rest all are like the sparks of the same flame. Just like Yogananda used to say that the gas underneath the burner is the same, but all the jets which are coming, they look individual, but there is only one supply underneath. So this is exactly, and how social integration, as Aditya mentioned, in these times it can be online, but more importantly, it was not how much love people were receiving. Now people may say, oh, I'm very lonely, now nobody loves me. It was, the scientists found that not the amount of love a person receives, but how much he gives, actually how much love and care he gives was basically responsible for the change in the longevity. So I think that is really a very important point there. And uh, yeah, so I think this is a lot of food for thought. So yeah, I would hand it over to Aditya for closing comments.
Well, I think that was good, Amar. Thank you so much for sharing that slide,
Yeah,
because all these things, friends, are pointing in the same direction that we discussed. That, Master, or I don't know if Master said this, but it's quite true again. Swamiji certainly used to say this, that many people who've had near death experiences, it seems they go through this tunnel of light, and those who came back to then tell. And there was always one question they were all asked: how much did you love? It's very interesting that in these times, because love also propels us to serve in different ways. So let us find ways, online, offline, through calling people, and whenever this lockdown will end, which let's pray it is soon, we go out and share with others. So thank you for coming and sharing. I really thank those who have published such beautiful articles to give us food for thought. And thank you, Amar and Barakiel. And we'll
thank
see
you.
you again, friends, in the next class, and for which we'll let you know the topic beforehand. And please, if you have any questions, write to us at online@anandaindia.org. Bye bye. Thank you.